Hello, welcome back to another Lumion Legacy HGC video. And this video is on a Lumion suggested by a viewer in my last video called Colossotrops. Colossotrops, in my opinion, is one of the more underrated wall breakers in the entire game, not just because of what it can do, but because of not people getting it as much, so they don't know what to think of this thing. Well, thankfully in today's video, I'll be telling you the stuff that Colossotrops can do, its resistances and weaknesses, the sets you want to be running for Colossotrops, and overall what Colossotrops can fit on each team, and of course, how to counter Colossotrops. So, today's video is on how to use and counter Colossotrops. So, in order to know how to use Colossotrops, we must ask the question, what role does Colossotrops play? Well, thankfully, this question is pretty easy to answer with its base stats. Its base stats are pretty subpar, while its range defense and its range attack is pretty subpar. 67 range defense is one of the lowest in the game for any ranged attacker, or rather any offensive attacker, so that's not really great. Its base speed is pretty low because you do get outsped by a bunch of other offensive Lumions, and as well, it's not really the best speed tier to be in. And 55 range attack is pretty bad, so you wouldn't want to use it. It does have good energy, which can get you to the 250 benchmark, which is pretty great for any Lumion, because most of the high base power moves are 50 costing, and most of the good support moves are 25 costing. However, its best stuff that you have to look at is its HP, melee attack, and melee defense. 103 HP is really great because, you know, it's comparable to the walls of the metagame, and combined with its melee defense, it is comparable to many of the mixed walls, and actually does outshine some of those if it's invested in bulk. And 124 melee attack is obviously pretty high. While it isn't as high as the likes of C.B.O, Kirillin, it is pretty high when you consider its ability, which I'll be talking about later. So, what role does Colossotrops play? Well, this is actually pretty simple. The one thing you'd want to know about Colossotrops, it has the potential to set up thanks to its bulk, so you can use some bulk ups or some brawn boosts to even boost its defenses or melee attack even higher. And it's a strong one-hitting wall breaker. While it does have the potential to set up, like I said earlier, the things I'll be talking about later on will most likely make you not want to switch in on a bunch of stuff, so that's pretty great. So yeah, now that we're done with identifying Colossotrops' role, we must ask the question, well, what can Colossotrops switch in on? So let's answer that question pretty quick. Colossotrops' typing is obviously plant and ancient, which in all honesty brings a lot to the table in terms of weaknesses and resistances. It has 6 weaknesses to dark, ice, bug, toxic, metal, ancient. Normally, this wouldn't be a problem because it has good resistances too, but 6 weaknesses to a lot of common typings is very, very bad. Dark types, or rather dark type moves coming from stuff like Ursoul, Cephalops, and Searnite are all stuff that has dark type moves, and as well as the Eclipse, so you're not going to be having fun with those stuff. While ice types aren't as common as before, there are good representation of Wintrix and Tundrolin, so you have to watch out for those guys. Bug types like Smolder and Harvestect are your main stuff you have to watch out for in terms of bug types. And toxic types, well, the toxic types are all over the place. Stuff like Barblast, Venilin, Smolder, and Gobidemic are all common toxic types. Metal types like Valkyrie, Tyrex, Stratosaur, Searnite are all common metal types that have their coverages, and ancient types like Zulong, Joltooth, and Obsidian have ancient type moves as well as Oxydrake. So, yeah, that's a lot of weaknesses in terms of the metagame right now, which in all honesty is probably not that great. What it has later on kind of redeems it, but not as much. 2 resistances to Earth and Spirit. Now, Earth types like Tyrex, Sedimars, and Borak will be prime subjects to be trying to switch in on and trying to do damage or threaten them out. And Spirit types like Ursoul and Harvestect you can be able to switch in on them. However, the main problem with these resistances is that most of these Lumions that you can resist does have stuff to hit you super effectively, so that's not really as great. However, it does have 4 major resistances, or rather 3, I don't know what that is. to water, plant, and electric. Water types like Luminami and Barblast are the only water types in the game that are common, and Luminami is not that common, so yeah, have fun. Plant types like Chartsiki, that while they don't particularly use plant type moves, I guess it's okay. You could not also try switching in on Totab's Timber Thrash, so you can try doing that. And electric types like Zulong and Joltooth, and I guess Elephage as well, are pretty good switch-ins to switch in on. Elephage is probably your best answer. Zulong and Joltooth are not great stuff to switch in on. Please don't do that. And it has one immunity to light. I'm pretty sure it has another one, but yeah, it has one immunity to light. And stuff, light types like Valkyrie, Luminami are some good types to switch in on if you are that desperate. So overall, Colossotrops has a lot of weaknesses. Most of the stuff that it can resist has super effective hits to hit it, so with that we have to talk about its set, which will kind of alleviate and deal with these weaknesses. Colossotrops' set will be Vigorous, or the pure damage wall breaker. Obviously the ability we're running here is Vigorous, so there of course will be a frail armor set later on, but yeah, the first ability will be Vigorous. The moves you want to run are Timber Thrash, Primal Slash are your main moves because, well, they're your stat moves and they obviously do the most damage. And the last two move slots can be occupied by Mega Chomp, Earthquake, or Brawn Boost. You could run Bulk Up as well. I wouldn't really recommend it since Colossotrops needs to do as much damage as possible before it leaves the field. I would recommend 4 attacks instead of 3 attacks and then a Brawn Boost. So yeah, Earthquake is pretty much essential on this thing because you want to hit stuff like Barblast and the metal types, so you wouldn't want to get walled by them. And Mega Chomp is debatable here because you can try and hit the light types that might switch in on you. So yeah, while I wouldn't particularly run Brawn Boost or Mega Chomp, you have to pick one of those, so yeah, have fun. The personality of choice will be Brawny or Brawny Clumsy. It doesn't matter, you have to run Brawny or Brawny Clumsy. Most of the personalities won't work with the set, so yeah, pure Brawny or Brawny Clumsy is your best bet for dealing as much damage as possible. And the item of choice is Volcanic Ash. There's not just any explanation, it just boosts your Vigorous ability. And the TPs will be 160 HP. This is mostly leftovers, but this lets you get odd HP, so you do get 5 hit KO'd by Icicle Traps. Range defense is leftovers as well. 96 speed lets you outspeed a non-invested, non-nimble Obsidian, non-so luggish as well because people like to run Brawny Robust these days. And 200 melee attack lets you do as much damage as possible. 36 energy, I'm pretty sure it lets you do 4 Timber Thrashes and 1 Brawn Boost. So yeah, this set is mostly on switching in, or rather having other Lumians get you in the battle and dealing as much damage as possible. So yeah, let's get on with the next set, which is more free-to-play friendly. Frail Armor set, and of course the only ability you want to run is Frail Armor, and notice the after buff on the top. I would not use this set after the Frail Armor buff got buffed, so yeah. Right now it only gives you +1 speed, which in all honesty is pretty bad. So I wouldn't normally use this set in any other competitive battle. I would wait till it gets to +2 speed. The moveset of choice will be obviously the same. There would be more incentive to use Brawn Boost in this set because you will be outspeeding a bunch of stuff and it will bring your potential to sweep the metagame. Obviously it's pretty great. The personality of choice will be Brawny or Brawny Clumsy. You can make the argument of running Nimble, but in all honesty you're not hitting as hard with Brawn Boost, or rather you're not hitting as hard with Vigorous as before, so Brawny is more essential on this set. The item of choice will be Health Amulet, any stab shell, so basically the ancient shell or the plant shell. The Power Cuffs obviously is pretty great, however I haven't calculated the energy for that. And Milkshake if you're running a Lumian that has Health Amulet already. TPs of choice will be 184 speed to outspeed very nimble, or I think smart nimble Zulong at +2 speed. 8 energy lets you, well, it's pretty much leftovers again. And 36 energies, the same as last time. Same with the melee attack, and HP lets you have odd energy at level 50 battles. So yeah, that's pretty great. So now that we're done with the sets, and the sets mostly being focused on sweeping, we're going to be talking about what Colossotrops cannot do in front of other Lumions, so its counters and its checks, and what you can run with Colossotrops, so you'll have to deal with those checks. So let's get along with that. So, the first counters and checks which I'll be talking about is mainly walls that resist its stuff or are pretty bulky enough to do so. Stuff like Tundulin is probably the best answer because it doesn't get 3-hit KO'd like the other stuff that I'll be mentioning. So yeah, as well it does hit it super effectively with ice. It can bulk up alongside Colossotrops and Brawn Boost as well. And Tundulin is generally a good melee wall for your team. Another counter or check is Swolder because, well, Swolder doesn't particularly resist all of its moves and it's not the best for melee defense. A very robust 200 melee defense, 192 HP Swolder does get Colossotrops Vigorous set down to a 14 or 12% to 3-hit KO, so that is obviously pretty great. And Bar Blast, another one, while it does get hit super effectively by an Earthquake, it does have the ability to, like Swolder, get for a 3-hit KO with a 14% chance. So yeah, that's basically your best counters and checks. And this normally is probably not the best way of dealing with Colossotrops, and this is actually, in my opinion, one of the easiest ways. Offensively, checking Colossotrops is the best because using super effective moves are your best bet. Stuff like Valkyrie, Stratosaur, and Zulong are your prime targets because they not only have enough bulk to survive some hits from Colossotrops, and I guess Ticlips as well, but they can potentially one-shot Colossotrops back, so that's pretty great. Well, Colossotrops can kill one of these guys in one hit, mainly Wintrix and Stratosaur. I'm mostly talking about revenge killing or getting them in on a good resistance switch, because unlike Colossotrops, these guys can resist some of Colossotrops' moves. Most of them would be Timber Thrash and Primal Slash. So yeah, that's pretty great for these Lumions as well. So that's how you check Colossotrops offensively. However, Colossotrops does have some great defensive and offensive teammates, which you probably want to use on it. Offensive teammates like Mocho is actually one of the best answers for Colossotrops because it breaks Tundulin, it breaks Tundulin and Swolder, and Deep Freeze on a Bar Blast does a bunch of damage. Not to mention, it does pretty well against Stratosaur, and with Colossotrops, if you run Vigorous and click Timber Thrash every single turn, you're most likely going to be destroying Stratosaur right off the bat, so that is obviously pretty great. Not to mention that Mocho overall is a pretty great Lumion because it can set up and it can sweep alongside Colossotrops, so that's pretty great. C.B.O, while not being the most good option, it does provide some great utility with being able to destroy Tundulin. It can destroy Swolder if it runs Ice Hammer, which in all honesty is probably a good move for it now anyways. While it can't particularly break Bar Blast without Raging Tackle, there is the possibility of it critting or stuff like that, so yeah. Zulong is actually pretty great because most of the answers for Colossotrops are weak to air, are weak to electric, and they're pretty melee defensive. So with Zulong obviously being a strong range attacker that is very fast, Zulong will obviously be a really great offensive teammate for Colossotrops. And its defensive teammates is Ursnack, Stratosaur, and Tyrex. Ursnack overall is probably the best because not only it lowers the speed of the opponent, it switches his out and then lets Colossotrops come in for free, so it's pretty great for Colossotrops. And as well as Stratosaur and Tyrex overall being really great meta walls that will help Colossotrops in terms of its weaknesses. So yeah, this will be your best teammates to run with Colossotrops, while you particularly do not have to run Tyrex and Stratosaur because they are pretty boring. You can run most of the most of the walls in the game and they will do a pretty good job for Colossotrops. So other than that, let's get along with the conclusion and how I think about Colossotrops. So, thanks for watching the video. Obviously, thanks for sticking around, and make sure to like and subscribe. And I do have a Discord, so yeah. My thoughts on Colossotrops. Well, Colossotrops, in my opinion, is one of those dream wall breakers that you would always want to use alongside Joltooth. You would always want to use, but you'd never have the resources to get Colossotrops in the first place, which in my opinion kind of sucks. Colossotrops, in all honesty, is probably one of the better wall breakers of the game, and while not being meta or probably not being as great as the more consistent melee wall breakers, it does have a good job in terms of wall breaking. It can be a really strong attacker in off-meta teams, so that is great. So yeah, those are my thoughts on Colossotrops. Yeah, make sure you like the video and subscribe if you're into that, I guess. I do have more high quality, or rather decent quality videos, like how to use and counter Colossotrops, like how to use and counter Sinogre and Pyrelin, so you should check those out if you are looking for other videos like this. And of course, like the video if you enjoy, dislike if you do not enjoy it, I won't see it. So yeah, and also before I end off the video, make sure to remember that Zulong is still a dumpster fire.